Chris Brown has been ordered to pay his former housekeeper nearly $13 million, and a judge just allowed her to go after his tour money to collect it. But Chris isn't staying quiet. He just reacted to the situation, and his response could make things even worse. Let me catch you up. Let's start with what just happened, because this is fresh. A Los Angeles judge granted Maria Avila's request to assign money Chris Brown gets from royalties and tour income to her, in order to satisfy the $13 million judgment she won in her dog attack case against him. Brown's side didn't sit quietly for this one. Chris objected to the request, but the judge apparently wasn't swayed. Right now, it's unclear if he's going to push back further, because it's still unclear if Chris will ask for reconsideration or appeal the ruling. So what does collecting from tour income actually mean here? It means Maria Avila's legal team asked for a lot more than just a bank account raid. According to the filing, Avila also wants payments from Brown's other entertainment projects, royalties, and residuals redirected to her until the judgment is satisfied. Her lawyers made clear this isn't about politely waiting for a check. She doesn't want to wait for Brown to voluntarily write a check. She wants the legal authority to intercept his income before it reaches him. And the reason they went this route is simple. According to court filings, he hadn't paid anything. Maria Avila filed court documents claiming Brown has made no effort to satisfy any portion of the judgment awarded in her favor following a jury trial. Her attorneys reportedly went further than that, asking a Los Angeles court to give her access to Brown's financial records and allow her to go after the money he is earning from the R&B tour with Usher. Here's what makes the timing brutal for Brown. He's currently in the middle of one of the biggest tour of his career. Chris Brown is currently performing in stadiums across North America alongside Usher, and Avila's team leaned directly into that fact in their filing. The filing reportedly argued that Brown is currently earning substantial income while performing on the R&B tour with Usher. Her attorney, Nancy Dalmanian, put it plainly in a motion, writing that her repeated attempts to reach Brown's legal team about payment have gone unanswered, even as the singer continues to headline a lucrative run of shows across North America. Now, has Chris Brown said anything about all this publicly? Not directly, at least not in so many words. But fans think he already has, in his own cryptic way. Just days after news broke that Avila was going after his tour profits, Brown posted something on his Instagram story. He didn't explain it, didn't tag anyone, just dropped his usual black screen with white text. The message read that life will always push and pull you in different directions, and told his followers to remember who they are. Nothing about a lawsuit, nothing about a dog, nothing about $13 million. But the timing lined up so perfectly that fans immediately connected the dots, because it came just days after reports revealed that his ex-housekeeper is seeking to enforce her $13 million judgment by any means, including tapping into his joint tour profits and royalties. That's as close to a public reaction as Chris Brown has given. And honestly, given everything else going on around him this year, that vague post might be the loudest statement he's willing to make right now. To understand how Brown ended up here, you have to go back more than 5 years, to a property in Tarzana, California, and a 200-pound dog named Hades. The incident happened in December 2020. The case began with an incident in December 2020 when Hades, a 200-pound Caucasian shepherd that Brown kept on his property, attacked Maria Avila as she took out the trash. According to the lawsuit, this wasn't a nip or a scare, it was a mauling. The dog allegedly ripped off large chunks of Avila's skin, leading to permanent facial disfigurement, scarring, vision loss, and nerve damage. The medical details that came out in court were graphic. Avila testified that doctors had to graft skin from her abdomen onto her arm, and that the attack required dozens of stitches to her face, and she spent 5 days in the hospital, where pandemic restrictions stopped her family from visiting. Her sister Patricia was also on the property that day and says she found Maria in the middle of the attack. According to court filings, Patricia alleged Brown's dog attacked a housekeeper, and no one came to her side despite the worker screaming in terror and calling out for help. Brown's version of events was very different. His defense argued the dog wasn't even really his. It belonged to his security operation. Brown claimed that Hades was not his personal pet, but a dog looked after by his security team for protection. He doubled down on that in his own deposition, insisting Hades wasn't a personal pet of his at all, but rather an animal his security staff had acquired and cared for as a means of protecting the property from potential intruders. Brown also tried to shift blame onto Avila herself, arguing she provoked the attack or ignored a warning. His legal team's language was blunt in court filings. claiming she assumed the risk of them with full knowledge of the magnitude of that risk, in that she knew her foregoing conduct might cause the dog to attack her and seriously injure her, both of which events are alleged to have occurred. Avila's side flatly rejected that framing, denying she'd ever been warned about the dog's temperament in the first place. There was also the matter of what Brown did in the immediate aftermath. During his deposition and later at trial, testimony emerged that instead of calling for help himself, he left the property. Per Variety, the testimony that rather than calling 911 himself, Brown fled the scene and drove around for hours might have moved the jury. Brown gave his own account of that moment, describing hearing the dog growling, coming downstairs, finding Maria injured, and then securing the animal before leaving it to his security team to call for help. He acknowledged under oath that he didn't personally dial 911 and that he left the property that day. The lawsuit dragged on for years before it ever reached a jury. Patricia Avila filed the lawsuit in Los Angeles County Superior Court in April 2021, citing premises liability, negligent infliction of emotional distress, and strict liability, and the complaint initially sought $90 million in damages. Along the way, there were fights over depositions, with Brown's team at one point citing a move out of state to explain delays, and Avila's lawyers accusing him of stalling for months. By the time the case actually reached trial, it had ballooned into a 2-week jury proceeding. A Los Angeles area jury sided with Maria Avila at the end of June, awarding her nearly $12.9 million after finding that Brown was responsible for injuries she suffered when a 200-pound dog attacked her while she was working at his home in 2020. The jury didn't stop with Maria. Maria Avila's sister, Patricia Avila, got $885,000 for emotional distress, as she was also on the job when Hades attacked Maria. And the jury also awarded $50,000 to Maria's husband, Oscar Olivo. Avila's attorney summed up what the verdict meant for her client in a statement after the trial, saying that for more than 5 years, our client has endured permanent facial disfigurement, permanent loss of use of her arm, multiple surgeries, and the lasting emotional trauma resulting from the devastating dog attack. She added something pointed about the defense strategy Brown's team had used throughout the case. That throughout the litigation, Avila also faced allegations by Chris Brown and his legal team that she was somehow responsible for what happened. And after hearing all of the evidence, the jury rejected those claims and found that she was not at fault. Avila's own daughter also testified, describing the panicked phone call she got from her Aunt Patricia the day it happened, recalling being told her mom couldn't breathe and kept passing out while they waited on an ambulance. That's the full weight of what a jury decided Chris Brown owed. And once that number was locked in, the fight moved from the courtroom to something more practical, actually getting paid. Winning a verdict and collecting on one are two very different things. And that gap is exactly where this story has lived for the past several weeks. Almost immediately after the verdict, Avila's team said Brown wasn't moving to pay anything. Her latest filing claimed the award related to the dog attack remains entirely unpaid following last month's verdict. So her lawyers went to court asking for something aggressive, full transparency into Brown's finances. Brown's former housekeeper asked a judge to compel the singer to reveal information about his assets. They wanted more than just numbers on a page. Her request reportedly included tour earnings, royalties, entertainment payments, and other income. This wasn't the first time Brown's finances had been dragged into this case, either. Long before the verdict, back when Avila was still building her case, her team had already tried to get a full picture of what he was worth. Maria was seeking a significant amount in damages, specifically $90 million, following the alleged dog attack. And to support her case, she wanted Chris to provide various financial documents, including details about his assets, bank accounts, income tax returns, and any relevant forms such as W-2 and 1099s. What changed this time is that Brown is on the road, actively earning, and his earnings are now traceable in real time through a stadium tour with one of the biggest names in R&B. That combination, an unpaid judgment and a very visible, very lucrative tour, is what pushed the court to act. The judge's decision to let Avila's team tap directly into his tour and royalty income wasn't just about punishing him for not paying. It was a practical fix for a problem that's common in celebrity litigation. Winning in court means nothing if the person on the other end simply refuses to write the check. And Brown, for his part, hasn't been quiet about disputing the process, even if he stayed largely quiet about the underlying facts. He objected to the assignment of his tour income, according to the court filing, though the judge denied that objection outright. It's also worth understanding that this dog attack case has never existed in a vacuum for Brown. It's landed in the middle of a stretch where he's been dealing with legal trouble on more than one continent. Around the same time Avila's team was filing to go after his tour money, Brown was also dealing with a separate case overseas tied to an alleged nightclub assault years earlier, a case where he'd already secured a multi-million-dollar bail bond just to stay out of custody while it played out. So the housekeeper judgment isn't an isolated financial hit. It's landed during a year where Brown has had to manage serious legal and financial pressure on multiple fronts at once, all while still performing to sold-out stadiums most nights of the week. That contrast is really what makes this story land the way it does. On stage, Brown is out there every night doing exactly what made him one of the most successful performers of his generation, sharing a bill with Usher on a tour built around nostalgia and spectacle. Offstage, a woman who used to clean his house is now legally entitled to intercept a cut of that same tour's revenue, because a jury decided her injuries were his responsibility and he didn't pay up when he was told to. As for what happens next, that's still playing out. Brown hasn't said whether he'll appeal the ruling that lets Avila go after his tour and royalty income. And there's been no public confirmation of a payment plan or settlement outside of what the court has ordered. Avila's lawyers, meanwhile, have made clear they're not backing off. They've said plainly that their client has waited long enough, and that this is about making sure a verdict actually turns into money in her hands, rather than just words on a piece of paper. For Maria Avila, after 5 years of litigation, a mauling that changed her life, and a jury that sided with her fully, the fight now isn't about being believed anymore. It's about actually getting paid what a court already said she's owed.